And we're beginning. All right. Welcome.
Divine Creator, we ask that the light of highest awareness fill the minds and hearts of those who are open to your light. We ask that they be assisted and strengthened in their resolve to achieve peace using peaceful means. May their minds, their hearts, and their actions reflect the divine will to good for all. Comfort, strengthen, and support those who are in a difficult situation in their mind, body, or spirit. Bring confidence to them that your divine hand is at work in their life. Amen.
Greetings and welcome. My name is Reverend Mary Huber, pastor of CCWH, which stands for the Community Chapel of Holistic Healing. We are a non-denominational, nonprofit spiritual fellowship founded in 1977 by Reverend Michelle Luson, a mystic and channel for the higher consciousness, which we carry here in the organization. She had an apparition of Swami Sivananda in which he asked her to start this organization and place it here in the DC area to be a light for the nation's capital. We are here to aid in personal and global spiritual transformation. We have chapel services twice each month, as well as occasional classes, and offer other spiritual healing. Right now, that healing is through distance healing. But we do maintain a prayer list, and we would be happy to have you send in your request of the names of people for whom you would like us to pray. Now, at this time, if everyone will put themselves on mute. And before we begin, we will recite the affirmations of faith, hope, and charity, which we call the three healers. You might want to say them along as we're reading them here at home while you are on mute. I believe in the spiritual existence of myself as a perfect image of the divine creator. In this reflection that is my physical embodiment, I have, excuse me, I lost my page here. May I begin again? I believe in the spiritual existence of myself as a perfect image of the divine creator. In this reflection that is my physical embodiment, I have faith in the supreme guidance of my soul for my balance, my needs, and my opportunities. Outside of myself, there are also perfect images, and nothing can delude my thinking otherwise. Acknowledging my faith in the omnipresence of my divinity, I hope for realization, awareness, and acknowledgement of the existence of the great I am within myself. In understanding faith, in knowing hope, I pledge my actions, my desires, and my thoughts to the performances of myself on the physical planes of the earth, to honor, to love, and to enlighten all that is a reflection of the divine outside myself, so that my perfection is imaged back to my Creator. So help me God. Thank you for coming. Tonight's topic is something that came to me one evening as I was meditating. It's called the ley lines in consciousness. As I was thinking about this concept, I thought we could begin first with understanding what ley lines are. So first, I want to acknowledge that many people consider these to be not scientifically proven and therefore may not exist. However, as you will see, humanity has experienced these probably from the very beginning of our time on the planet. Most cultures and traditions have described these as straight lines, often geometric alignments that ran across ancient landscapes, connecting natural and sacred structures together. However, science today struggles with the various theories, but the acknowledgement of the lines persist. These lines are known by many names. They are known as fairy paths to the Irish, dragon lines to the Chinese, spirit lines to the Peruvians, and song paths to the Australian Aborigines. The term ley line was first used around 1920s by Watkins in England, who was very much studying this kind of phenomena. And he took the word ley, that comes from an old Anglo-Saxon word meaning a clearing. But he also noticed that as he's looking at these straight lines, they were always close to towns in England with the word ley or L-E-Y as their ending. And so they became known as the ley lines. The ancient use of these terms was really relating to energy as much as it was relating to the topography of the environment. Now, the dragon currents in Chinese were energy points known to feng shui. They acknowledge the relationship of the sun, moon, and 5 major planets to the earth and its magnetic field. They thought the currents of magnetic energy varied according to the position of these elements and developed a whole system of feng shui because of it. But they did acknowledge these lines of energy. In the ancient world, the Aboriginal fusion of navigation and storytelling goes back to explain their understanding connected to sacred landscapes. These lines, or these song lines, were also called dreaming tracks, thought to be constructed by the creator beings during the dreaming time. The paths of the song lines are recorded in traditional songs, stories, dance, and painting. By singing the songs in the appropriate sequence, Indigenous people could navigate vast distances. Since a song line could span different language groups, different parts of the song are said to be in these different languages. But their language was not a barrier because the melodic contour of the song describes the nature of the land over which the song passes. The rhythm is what is crucial to understanding the song. Listening to the song of the land is the same as walking the song line and observing the land. The mystical nature of various lines of energy are certainly evident in Peru, in the Nazca Desert drawings. And we were fortunate to have a light plane ride over these fields when our group went on its spiritual journey to Peru. So I observed these as in person. This was very wonderful. The lines were very clear, and they're clear enough to be viewed by astronauts aboard Skylab, orbiting at 270 miles above Earth. Now, they have essentially 2 kinds of lines or drawings. And the one are mostly figures of animals, are kind of zoomorphic. and those other ones that are more geometric. Some of them are also not only on the desert floor, but they're also inscribed in the surrounding hills very clearly. The purpose of these and the origin are yet unknown, but wide speculation exists describing them as either some form of ritual or even perhaps creations of space visitors, which I think has been more prevalent in thinking, especially in recent years. It is evident that humanity has always been able to understand something of energy and its effect on people, even though there was no direct measurement of it or even an ability to see it with the naked eye. So people have had this sense about them as long as people have been here. This would indicate the use of outside of the five senses, which govern the physical. So this ability to have this sensing is a natural gift. It may not be developed very well in many people, but it is latent within all humans. However, as time has evolved on the planet, so has human consciousness. In our own time frame, a vast majority of humans have gone through what we know as the awakening process. This means that the search for meaning and connection to the divine within has become important and has created a new higher consciousness in many. There are many levels of consciousness existing in humanity, and those who are still unaware of their own nature, why they're here, and their relationship to God and the universe are what I think we consider now the lowest level of consciousness. They remain stuck in the past. Now, this new transitional phase, this revolutionary transitional stage that we are going through is creating a further intelligent evolution. And this will stimulate the higher dimension within one's spiritual nature, so that there is a heightening and a lightening of the vibrational energy in all parts of our lower nature. This is occurring through precisely timed inner stimulation for each person. Since the stimulation for this heightened state is coming first from the soul, it is being experienced as an intensification of internal vibrational energies. This is happening within the emotional response system of the body or within the mind as perceptual knowledge of altered realities. So whether you're experiencing whichever system you're experiencing it in, it's a new experience for people. The awakening process brings changes to an individual's belief system, as well as enhancing mental capabilities. And it needs to be noted for those who are going through this that new types of therapies are often required now to balance the body's energy systems. And we are aware of a lot of those therapies that we are all using it, and we are waiting for the newer ones to show up soon. Now, science has found that the world of matter and all life forms unite through electromagnetic energy exchange. These exist these exist also within human beings, the electromagnetic field. This creates our codependence on the earth itself. Now, as the old saying goes, as within, so without, it's true that the opposite is true as well. What is within is also without. The lines of energy which exist outside of self are also within us. has to be that way because that is the ancient maxim that we have all learned. All of the energies which comprise us as humans have their own pattern and are responsive to the thought forms of the individual. So when I first thought about the topic, ley lines within consciousness, I was given by Spirit a single word that I heard, and it was the word guilt. So I thought about that for a while, and I thought, well, this isn't very important, something important that we need to take notice of. I think we all recognize the word and its meaning to each of us. And we also know that there is both healthy and unhealthy guilt. Healthy guilt is something that teaches us conscience by providing emotional feedback about the consequences of hurtful behavior. And this is something that is learned very early on with children. Very young children learn this right away. They learn to understand what is expected of them in a society that has laws and has other people in it. And this is how the child learns what societal requirements are of them. And it's also known that those children who do not learn this at that point, where they do not have emotional feedback about the consequences of their behavior that is hurtful to others or themselves or others, are often become the sociopaths of today. Now, unhealthy guilt, that's the healthy guilt that helps us grow. Unhealthy guilt makes us feel bad about almost everything. People feel often angry and resentful as well as a result of unhealthy guilt, but it is also fear that's at the basis of unhealthy guilt. The unhealthy guilt causes life to become organized around the need to avoid fear rather than the desire to share love. William James, the physician and scientist who fathered American psychology, said that unhealthy guilt is an autoimmune disease of the soul that causes us to literally reject our own worth as human beings. Like Carl Jung, he emphasized the need for man's spiritual conversion, a total reconsideration of our place in the universe, and return to a state he called healthy-mindedness. Well, let's explore healthy guilt. So further, as you go on in life, there are other things that happen. And the healthy guilt that comes back, say, to a student who cheated on an examination and got away with it. However, as a moral individual, the student would be experiencing healthy guilt, and with it, an accompanying psychic pain. This feeling of shame should lead to the individual taking responsibility for this incident by admitting it and reflect honestly about why it was done while solving and resolving that it would not happen again. So this process of responsibility, self-inquiry, and letting go of the past renews and deepens self-respect. This is actually forgiveness. Forgiveness creates a shift in perception that permits us to see our mistake as an opportunity to learn rather than a proof of how bad we are. Forgiveness ensures that the fruits of healthy guilt are stored not in our emotional baggage, but in what family therapist Virginia Satir called our wisdom boxes. By letting go of pain involved in healthy guilt, we keep the deepened self-knowledge, compassion, empathy, and spiritual growth that goes with it. Unhealthy guilt is unproductive and toxic to our peace of mind, as well as to the ability to care for ourselves and others. Living in a constant state of diminishment, regardless of what we do or don't do, feeling flawed, defective, or unworthy, is something that is not desired. It's something that we need to be sure that we will not ever become part of. But shame as an identity, this is people blame themselves for things that are not their fault, not their responsibility, and not even their business. Shame as an identity leads to addictive behaviors. So the individual believes no one could love them as they are. Therefore, they need something outside of themselves to feel okay. The guilt that exists in the world is monumental, and it's always been there. And it continues until we find ways to help ourselves and coach others as well, to eliminate. Because eliminating it would, if we just eliminated this one thing, it would create a new world. This would be done through understanding self to be a spiritual being here on the planet and to expand and grow in love, in intelligence, and spiritual understanding of life in its many circumstances. I equated the various lines of thinking as similar to the Earth's ley lines because they are also energy and energy patterns, just the way the Earth lines are. We put these ley lines in consciousness within ourselves down early on, but they can be changed into healthy expressions of our true selves if they are not on the positive side. These changes are possible through compassion, patience, understanding, and frequent application of forgiveness. Remember that forgiveness is actually an exercise in compassion. It is both a process and an attitude. In the process, we convert the suffering created by our own mistakes or as a result of being hurt by another into psychological and spiritual growth. Through the attitude of forgiveness, we attain happiness by letting go of the ego's incessant need to judge ourselves and others. And very importantly, it first must be remembered that forgiveness is not a self-righteous or Pollyanna-like turning of the other cheek by which we condone bad behavior. Forgiveness requires awareness, the commitment to self-knowledge. Old hurts can't be canceled and undone, but these emotions can become the seeds of transcendence that allow healing to occur, whether we are the victim or the aggressor. It must always be remembered that forgiveness is not conditional on someone else's behavior. Holding on to past hurts and refusing to forgive is a kind of self-righteous anger. And the Buddha had something to say about that. He compared that to a hot coal that one picks up to throw at someone else, only to be burned themselves. The one holding the anger and resentment is the one who must take responsibility for that and go about the process of forgiveness. But forgiveness is ultimately, in the long run, a gift of grace. We really can't do this alone. We need to ask God to help us in the forgiving process. If we communicate this as a desire in heartfelt prayer, we do attract grace because it is our intention. It is our deepest desire that will be responded to by God, by the God within you who knows your heart. The Buddhists have a meditation on loving kindness. This exercise of imaging a loving light surrounding yourself and the people in your world who you are forgiving can make it easier to achieve the end result. So I propose that there are both positive and negative lines of energy pervading our consciousness. We can choose to follow those lines without thinking, or we can evaluate them for their effectiveness and sustainability in our everyday life. Since we have all been affected from childhood with a programming from the world, which has encouraged guilt, it might be a good place to start the transformation process or continue it in deeper form. The love and kindness of forgiveness will always go a long, long way toward our spiritual progress. We are not that different from each other in so many ways. What we see in ourselves, we see in others. Throwing blame is most often just self-exposure of one's own deficits. In our life story of our growth as human beings and our ability to care for ourselves and for others, and ultimately to discover our Godhead within, will be the advancement we will take with us eternally. I will end with this poem from Emmanuel's book, A Manual for Living Comfortably in the Cosmos. When you find the light within you, you will know that you have always been in the center of wisdom. As you probed deeper into who you really are with your lightedness and your confusion, with your angers, longings, and distortions, you will find the true living God. Then you will say, I have known you all my life, and I have called you by many different names. I have called you mother and father and child. I have called you lover. I have called you sun and flowers. I have called you my heart. But I never, until this moment, called you myself. Thank you. At this time, we will begin our meditation.
Hello, my name is Kelly Wilk. Welcome to this meditation. Today I'm doing a meditation that is my own adaptation of a meditation by Jose Silva from his book, You the Healer. And we'll begin by taking deep breaths. We'll begin by taking deep breaths in and deep breaths out. Deep breaths in and deep breaths out. As we continue with our deep breaths, we find ourselves relaxing more and more into our bodies, into our hearts, into our spirits, into the moment. When we feel calm, we find ourselves envisioning anything heavy, anything dark, anything cloudy or scratchy or in any way negative flowing off of us, flowing off of our bodies, our minds, our spirits, and flowing down into Mother Earth for transmutation. We take a moment to continue clearing ourselves of any sort of debris that is not useful to us at this time. Once we feel clear, we find ourselves reaching up to the sky, up to the heavens, up to spirit, reaching upward and making that connection with spirit. We feel that deep resonance as we feel the connection between ourselves and spirit within and the higher realms of spirit without. We form that connection, we make it stronger, brighter, thicker and more luminous. We let that connection grow and grow and fill with light. As this connection continues to grow and fill with light, we feel the light wrapping itself around us, totally encompassing us from top to bottom, front to back, left to right, head to toe. We are surrounded by this holy light. We feel its presence all around. Now we are grounded. We are connected. We are protected. From this place of peace and calm, we begin our healing journey. Remaining calm and taking deep breaths, we turn our awareness to our scalp. We see all the hairs penetrating our scalp, and we choose one hair in particular. We send our awareness down this hair and below our scalp. Once we're there, we find a forest of hair roots. We see them spreading out all along our head. We become aware of these roots and how they're connected to our hair and how they look coming out of our head. We send deep and sincere thanks to our scalp for its protection. If we send this thanks all along the skin cells for doing such a great service to us in our bodies. Once we feel this message has been delivered, we find ourselves sinking ever deeper into our heads. And we feel a very deep awareness of our own skulls. We give our skulls thanks for all of its work. And we humbly ask our skulls to send thanks to all of our bone cells for providing the needed structure for our bodies. Once we feel this message has been delivered, we find ourselves sinking ever deeper. Now we find ourselves sinking into our brain level. From here, we send very sincere thanks and kind words of appreciation. Whatever comes to our mind, we send these thanks to our brains. We thank it for being such a magnificent computer, running our bodies, providing us with the means to manifest our intellects. Sinking down, we become aware of our eyes, and we give thanks to them for a sense of sight. We feel our noses and give thanks to them for our sense of smell. We draw our awareness to our mouth and tongue, giving thanks for our sense of taste and digestive function. Keeping that image, we find ourselves almost sliding down our own throats into the stomach area, becoming aware of how much our stomach does for us, giving thanks for its digestive capability. Its ability to digest, to take in all the combinations of foods we put into it. From here, we find ourselves slowly stretching out to the organs surrounding our stomach, to our liver, our pancreas, our spleen and gallbladder. We thank each of these organs for the contributions they make to digestion and all of our other bodily functions. Continuing on our journey, we move through the stomach and into the small intestine. We find ourselves moving through the twists and turns into the large intestine. And we thank these organs for continuing the digestive process and for their absorption of nutrients. We thank our large intestine for all of the work it does, for its essential garbage disposal work. Spreading out from this area of the body, we give thanks to our kidneys for cleansing our body, our blood, of any poisons, and for their essential garbage disposal work. We give thanks to our reproductive organs. We move into the area of our abdominal muscles. And we ask that they send words of thanks, praise, and appreciation to all of the rest of our many muscles and tissues. Once we feel the word has been delivered to all of our many muscles and tissues, we choose a vein or an artery, and we find ourselves traveling along in the bloodstream. As we do so, we give thanks to the veins and the arteries for remaining clean, for providing good circulation of our blood to all the many parts of our bodies. We thank our bloodstream and our many blood cells. We thank them for their job in keeping us immune from disease. We find ourselves emerging temporarily from the blood into the lungs. Here in our lungs, we give thanks to them for their incredible ability of supplying oxygen to our blood and feeding our body and eliminating poisons. We continue our journey, jumping back into our bloodstream and traveling all the way to our hearts. Here we give a very deep thanks to our heart for its constant, steady work. Now that we have traveled along the systems of our body, we see them filling with more and more light and healing and peace. We see all of our organs, every single cell, every single body part, filling with as much love and light and healing and peace as it can hold. At this time, we may be drawn to send special healing, special energies or light or color to any particular part of our bodies that require more energy. We find ourselves doing this now. Once this healing energy has been sent, we once more visualize the light within us and all around us. It is so strong, so present, that we see ourselves almost limbed in light. We give thanks to Spirit for this healing journey. And we find ourselves leaving our deep awareness of our own bodies, traveling in our bloodstreams back to our scalp, shimmying up a hair follicle, and arriving once more outside of our bodies in our usual state of awareness. We come back slowly, giving thanks once more to our wonderful bodies and to Spirit. Welcome back, and thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Kelly, for that lovely meditation. And at this point, I'd like you to think about finding our website if you haven't found it, ccwh.com. And when you're there, you might want to check out our drop-down menu, and where it says get involved. There's a place there to make a contribution if you care to. And maybe you'd like to make a membership pledge as well. Don't forget, we have a Facebook page. And if you would like to see that and occasionally like the page, it helps our stats have improved significantly. I appreciate that a lot. And here we can also find our affirmations. So I hope you will enjoy that and listen to Mike.
For 44 years, CCWH has been an amazing place for spiritual learning, growth, and value. We will continue to provide value that will enrich your spiritual journey. Donations big and small makes what we do possible. Please help us help you and others by making a donation today. Click here to visit ccwh.com. Thank you.